Welcome back to the 9th Gym program, and today we are going to be taking a look at Flygon in competitive play in VGC 2020 and singles for 2020 as well. So, Flygon is a pretty cool Pokemon. You know, it got a lot of a buff with the Dynamax factor being a good weakness policy Pokemon, or even a Life Orb Pokemon. Actually, Life Orb is what I use today in the build, as you'll see. But, you know, it boasts a pretty alright attack stat with Life Orb and good Dynamax moves, as well as a very solid speed stat as well. Pretty well-rounded defenses, so it makes for a pretty solid Dynamax Pokemon in the face of anything other than an Ice-type Pokemon, and it's pretty good stuff. You know, its ability is pretty solid with Levitate, just giving us an additional additional immunity, rather, which is actually pretty good. Ground Dragon typing not being that bad. I mean, obviously you have your 4 times weakness to Ice, which is going to be really bad when we get Lando, but it's okay for now. And then 2 weaknesses of Dragon and Fairy, 3 resistances, and 1 immunity. So not a bad typing, not bad stats, not a bad ability. It's a not bad Pokemon. But there are Pokemon that are much stronger. Usually that will take up that spot, but it's a cool Pokemon to consider for your team. Anyway, let's talk about how to make it pretty solid in VGC. So let's look at the VGC build that I have for Flygon. So it is a Dynamax centric build where we Dynamax and then use a lot of really strong max moves as well as protect. So looking at it, ability Levitate, it's our only ability. It's pretty good though, but you know, it's not amazing on this Pokemon in specific. Life Orb as the item is pretty good, giving us 1.3 times damage constantly. A 30% attack buff is pretty solid. And then with moves, we have Earthquake, Dragonclaw, Fly, and Protect. Dual Stab, Protect, and then 1 coverage move. But it's not really a coverage move, it's more of a utility move, giving you Max Airstream, just buffing your speed of this Pokemon and your partner Pokemon. Pretty good. Max Airstream has been very, very powerful since its debut in VGC 2020, and it will continue to be just an absurdly good move. We have a lot of other options for attacks here, though. You know, you could go for something like Outrage if you want to go for more damage output for Dragonclaw, which is actually something that I did consider since it's a Pokemon we're going to usually Dynamax, but Outrage is a pretty bad move without Dynamax, and I wanted to give it, you know, some flexibility to Dynamax if you want to, or not Dynamax if you want to Dynamax something else. Makes sense. Then we also have moves like Iron Tail and Rock Slide as pretty solid coverage. It has a pretty shallow move pool for actual coverage moves, but Iron Tail gives you a great secondary effect of activating Max Steel Spike, giving you a defense buff and your ally Pokemon. And then also Rock Slide being a very strong attack, being able to hit flinches and hit both Pokemon, but also being a good max move, being able to change the weather if you're up against something like a Rain or a Sun team. It's pretty good. Or if you even have some kind of Sand Rush or Sand Veil or something on your own team, you just want to buff that. Could be cool. A couple of other options we have here is Dragon Dance as well, which is I think is a very solid game plan for Flygon. Being able to Dragon Dance up, now you're super fast and super powerful, and then being able to go for really strong moves later. Probably would pair that with, you know, some form of redirection, maybe like a Moongus Rage Powder or something like that, something of that sort. Very good stuff. And then you can also, of course, make this Pokemon a special attacker if you want to dodge Intimidates and stuff. Obviously, its attack is a little bit higher. That's why I went for the attack instead. But, you know, there's a lot of Intimidates and stuff going around, so it's worth to, you know, try that out if you want. So you have good moves like Draco Meteor, Earthquake. That's supposed to be Earth Power. Draco Meteor, Earth Power, Heat Wave, and so on. You also have Breaking Swipe as a really interesting option that lowers the attack of both opposing Pokemon, and not doing a lot of damage, but a pretty cool move in general. A lot of different items that you could use as well: Assault Vest, Weakness Policy, Choice Band, any of those damage dealing supplement moves or abilities, as well as Assault Vest could be cool. And obviously if you want to pair it with, you know, Weakness Policy, you'll want some way of proccing that. There's not really any way. You could go Ice Shard, but that's going to do a lot of damage, and it's kind of weird, but yeah, as long as you're not getting hit with an Ice attack, it's not that bad. It's a good option. Anyway, let's look at the EV spread. It's very, very basic. It's just 252 into speed and attack, and then the leftover 4 into HP since we're going to Dynamax. makes a lot of sense. And then we also have Jolly as our nature, giving us plus speed minus special attack since we're not using special attack, but we do want to be as fast as possible. Hitting 167 is actually a very solid speed tier, and with things like Tailwind and Max Airstream on your side, this Pokemon can be very, very fast and do a lot of good damage. We have speed tiers next and damage calc, so we'll talk about those a little bit more here in a minute. First off, I want to touch on these two. Don't say that. First off, I want to talk about these two Pokemon here, in the bottom right corner, the synergetic Pokemon. So first off, we have Talonflame, mostly just due to that Tailwind. 167 is very fast, but it does still get outsped by a couple of Pokemon, especially once we get our Pokemon back like Dragapult and Cinderace, and even faster threats with the DLC. So definitely not a bad option to go for some form of Tailwind. Whimsicott, when it comes back as well, could be good. But for now, Talonflame is our best option, and this is for Series 6, so yeah, it's pretty good. And then we also have Ferrothorn here. Ferrothorn just helps patch up that ice weakness as well as the fairy weakness, being able to deal a lot of damage to those Pokemon, and then also being able to wall out those Pokemon pretty well. So that's pretty good. It also provides a slow part of your team, so that if you're up against Trick Room, Flygon doesn't have a great time against Trick Room, but Ferrothorn can. So it just gives you a little bit more flexibility. They're pretty weird synergetic Pokemon, but they work, because Flygon doesn't really have any synergies that are just like screaming, hey, use this. So it's good though. Anyway, that is about it for the VGC set. Let's go ahead and move on to speed tiers real quick. So, like I said, it's a very fast Pokemon, hitting 167, the same speed tier as Charizard, which is very, very commonly known as a pretty fast Pokemon. I don't know why I said very so many times there. It was weird. But yeah, commonly known as a very fast Pokemon, especially with the, top speed Pokemon going out of play right now in Series 6, things like the Dragapult and Cinderace. So only being outsped by a few Pokemon that are pretty relevant, things like Durant, Raichu, Salazzle, Jolteon, not that many Pokemon, and there's not very many Scarf users as well, so not really going to be outsped by too many things, which is good. Do outspeed a lot of really good Pokemon, things like Arcanine, Porygon Z, Form Change Rotom, Duraludon, the list goes on. So many great Pokemon that are outsped by Flygon. Pretty good stuff. Now, let's go ahead and look at some damage calcs, because the damage calcs are actually pretty relevant for this Pokemon. So, we're going to start it off with into an Arcanine. This is a pretty random spread. It's not really that random, actually. It's the spread that I've been using, and I've been liking a lot. 116 HP, and then some special D stuff as well. But even after an Intimidate, as you can see here, Life Orb in max attack without the nature buff, Max Quake into the Arcanine, hits 108 to 127 after an Intimidate. Very, very good stuff. Now, obviously, Arcanine could have a little bit more bulk, but we're hitting 108 to 127, so we have room for them to invest a little bit more into bulk, which is good. So it's a guaranteed OHKO most of the time against Arcanine. Like I said, it's a spread that isn't always used, but it's pretty reliable, I would think. Next, we have Max Airstream into an Urshifu Rapid Strike, and thank you to the creator, Squirrel Boy, of the damage calc for adding the Urshifu. I was tired of using Poliwrath / Pangoro for those and then changing all the stats, so that's pretty cool that it's there now. But yeah, Max Airstream into Urshifu, hitting 91 to 109, which only gives us a 56% chance to OHKO, but it is at least 50% plus usage stats in Focus Sash, so it's going to be knocked down to its Sash or right above Sash, in which case, the damage calc is still very, very good. And both Urshifu's forms don't really threaten Flygon too much, so it's pretty good. Next, we have Dynamaxed Max Wyrmwind into a Dynamax Dracozolt with 4 HP, hitting 79 to 94%, which is a lot of damage, but a guaranteed 2-hit KO. With Helping Hand, it pushes us up into 119 to 140, which is a guaranteed OHKO into the Dynamax Dracozolt, but you have to use then Helping Hand. So, that's something you'll have to know. If they go Dracozolt with Talonflame, then they're going to be able to outspeed you, so you can't go for Helping Hand. But if they don't, if they lead Dracozolt and some other Pokemon, then you can take it out with a Helping Hand, which is pretty cool. Next is our last offensive calc, Max Wyrmwind into a Dracovish with Life Orb as well, hitting it for 145 to 174. Now, commonly Dracovishes will be running Choice Scarf, so you'll want to make sure you lead Talonflame for a Tailwind into that as well, or have Tailwind active by the time they bring in Dracovish. So it's a good thing to know. Anyway, next we have two defensive calcs. Both are like, alright. First off, we have Primarina Max Starfall with Life Orb boost and Max Invested with Quiet Nature into the Dynamax Flygon with 4 HP, hitting 119 to 140, which is a guaranteed OHKO. But after a Max Quake, yes, we outspeed first. I don't know why I said yes there. That was weird. Anyway, so you outspeed the Primarina, and then you can hit it with a Max Quake or hit its, partner Pokemon with a Max Quake, and then it's essentially a Snarl, giving you a +1 of your special D. It's actually not like a Snarl at all, but it does do the difference, making it an 80 to 94%, which is guaranteed 2 AKO. So you can live Primarina's big attacks with a Quake, but then, you're not killing their Primarina, so their Dynamax is still stronger. So Primarina's like not a great matchup, I would say, but it's still a good damage calc to know that you can live it with a Max Quake or a Snarl if you're side by side with an Arcanine or something. Next we have Life Orb, Hustle, all that stuff for Dracozolt and Max Wyrmwind into the 4 HP Dynamax Flygon, hitting 140 to 165. That's a guaranteed OHKO. So if you can't set up the HH Helping Hand, I don't know why I keep saying H instead of H. I said it once as a meme and now it's kind of stuck. I don't know why. Anyway, if you can't kill the Dracozolt first, then Dracozolt's going to kill the Flygon. It's, a matchup you'll have to know what's happening to happen. Correctly. Is rightly a word? I don't think it is. Anyway, let's move on. Talk about the single spotlight build. So in singles, I'm using this Pokemon with Choice Scarf and Levitate as mostly a revenge killer, being able to bring it in and then outspeed just about anything because of its very good speed nature. And then, Choice Scarf giving you 50% additional speed. So we have Choice Scarf and a bunch of attacks. We have Earthquake, Dragon Claw, U-Turn, and Outrage. I went with Outrage instead of, another coverage move, just so that, if you can't take it out with Dragon Claw, you can take it out without Outrage probably. But Outrage, locks you in, so it's a pretty medium attack. But, it's still there. And then U-turn for pivoting. Other than that, we just went for a pretty basic spread of Jolly, Max Speed, and then Max Attack, and then 4 into Special D. Pretty good. I like Flygon. In sum up, I think Flygon's pretty cool. It's not too great in VGC, but it does have pretty solid usages. Like right now in Series 6, there are a couple of, a lot of top 10 Pokemon that Flygon does really well against. So, this is a format where you can play Flygon. I think it really is. And especially with the top speed tiers being bottomed out, now, Flygon is essentially a very, very fast Pokemon, and it's pretty cool. I think Flygon's cool. Doesn't do the damage perfectly though, in my opinion, so yeah, maybe not, but I still think it's really cool and worth trying. And in singles, it's not that great, but a good revenge killer is pretty cool, and it has pretty good typing and like a good offensive typing to hit big damage on a lot of things, so it's pretty good. Anyway, that is going to be it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Makes a huge difference. Join the Twitch, watch me live on Twitch, link in description. Follow me on Twitter, join the Patreon, join the Discord, do all those things. Every one of those links are going to be down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and goodbye.